This is the Furious Focused. I am here with Kevin Davis. We're going to be doing a Keep Rising segment to kick off the entire podcast. This segment focuses on particular individuals that have shown that mentality of continuing to rise beyond certain strife and other things they've encountered in their lives, as well as people who have helped me along the way and vice versa. So it's a positive segment to kick it off before we get into the weeds later on in other shows. But it's a pleasure to have you here today, Kevin.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So I'm going to just open it up and introduce Kevin. He is a romance book model who I've known for years now. Kevin has gone through some personal growth, which I will have him talk about as we go through this show. But I just wanted to really point out, Kevin, it's so nice to see how far you've come, since those days, beyond your recovery that you'd started with, but through today and seeing, everything that you've accomplished and done. But for those that don't really know you or know who you are, what is your quote unquote origin story? Who is Kevin Davis?
Well, I was in addiction for many years. I actually did meth for about 20 years. Not it didn't really get bad until maybe the last 8, 9, 10 years of it. It just got worse and worse. But I was pretty much able to be a very functioning addict for most of that time. I had years of chronic pain, and I also had some undiagnosed ADHD. So meth just seemed to be the drug of choice for me. Also, because of IBS-C, I couldn't really ever take any kind of pain pills. So I looked for whatever I could do, and meth became my drug of choice. So I did that for about 20 years altogether. I ended up finally getting arrest for possession. That was sort of like the best thing that ever happened to me at that point. I was able to get rehab as part of my sentencing, and I got arrested in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and that's where I did my rehab. So I just decided to stay there and rebuild my life, changed my phone number, made all the changes I needed to do, and that's sort of where my recovery journey started.
Okay, so you would say that arrest was your turning point?
It was my rock bottom
Mm.
that I needed desperately.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is that because I was a very functioning addict and I lived in Atlanta and my family was in Alabama, my family didn't even know I did drugs
Oh, wow.
until I got arrested. So because of that, like it was sort of a dirty little secret,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really want anyone to know. So anytime I thought about going and getting help, go to rehab or whatever, I kind of was thinking, well, if I do, then everyone's going to know this. And because of the chronic pain, I was so afraid that I would go to rehab, everyone would know my business, and then I'd be using still because I would be hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I just didn't see it as a way out. I just saw it as a way for everyone to know I was a junkie, and I just didn't want that.
I see. So insofar as once you hit rock bottom and started that recovery, was there any, was it like I don't know, I don't want to get stereotypical, but was it like a group effort that you did stuff in rehab and recovery, or was it like a solo person that helped you along the way?
So everybody's different. I once I was in jail, I was in jail for 50 days. So luckily that gave me time to completely detox and think about things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty much jobless and homeless, sleeping in my car most of the time before I got arrested. So, I was like, well, I never want to go back to jail. I've seen too many of my friends make that their comfort zone. They It was just another thing like, oh, I got arrested. I did not want that to be my comfort zone. I got to experience 50 days of it, which was really good because it really opened my eyes. I'm like, I don't want this to be my life.
Right, right.
And then I also didn't want to go back to the life I had before. So whenever I got to go to rehab, I was so excited about being there because, I went from being locked up with 50 guys, one toilet in the middle of the room,
Oh my gosh.
you know, um, and there were people who were in there for murder. It's like
Wow.
I think people get really beat up, hurt in
Hmm.
there.
I imagine
So
so.
I was excited to be there. I had my own room, my phone, my TV, my own bathroom. It's just like I was so happy to be there. And other people that were there were forced to be there. They didn't want to be there. So a lot of that was perfect for me because it gave me a perspective that I wouldn't have had before. Um, and also the fact that I didn't burn bridges with my family because they didn't know I hadn't stolen from them, or they hadn't gone through all this drama with me. So
Hmm.
I had their support. So I realized, I might not ever get this opportunity again. I have the support of my family. I was going through the VA for my rehab and VA court.
Hmm.
So I realized I had a really good support system. Um, and so that was sort of like me just deciding, okay, this is your one chance
Hmm.
to to make a change. So do whatever you can, make whatever changes you need to do. And I never had a sponsor. I didn't even go to meetings like a
Hmm.
lot of people do. Um, everybody's recovery is different because everybody's addiction is different. But
Right.
in my addiction, I saw a lot of my friends going to the meetings, and they would go, they would relapse, they would go in there high, they would have drugs on them. And I just didn't want to have access to that. So
I could see where that would
I
be.
I
Yes.
changed my phone number. I didn't have know anyone there in Tuscaloosa that did drugs. So that was the best thing for me, is just to have that not even be an option for me.
Right. Right. I can imagine. Yeah, being in those meetings and and around all those people, you're just constantly reminded of like what you've
Yeah.
done, who you are, kind of thing. And
And
it
you
would
can
be a
tell when they're
challenge.
high. You
Yeah,
can
I
tell when they're
bet.
high.
I
They can
bet.
go and they start thinking about wanting to use with them, or if you do hang out with someone and then they happen to pull out some drugs,
Oh,
it's really
gotcha.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, golly. Well, along those lines, then, it sounds like you covered it a little bit. What surprises you most about your own strength to get through that whole debacle, that section of your life that was messed up?
Um, it it really surprised me how well I did, because for many years I just assumed that I couldn't live without the drugs, that I wouldn't be happy without them.
Hmm.
And like once I got it out of my system, and once I started, feeling somewhat good about myself again,
Hmm.
I think that was the main thing. I feel like, when you're doing the drugs for so long, you tell yourself certain things about yourself and you
Right.
start believing.
Hmm.
And then when you start to remember who you were before, and you start seeing the changes, I was working out again during rehab,
Hmm.
and I started feeling really good about myself.
Right.
Um, just working out and going on walks or runs afterward, I would feel really good. I would get that sort of that high afterward.
Hmm.
And it reminded me that I could feel good without drugs.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and when I started, you know, taking selfies, like I remembered, I'm like, wow, I haven't taken photos of myself in years because I didn't like the way I looked.
Hmm.
So when I started taking photos, I kind of realized, I'm like, okay, I'm actually starting to like myself again. I'm starting to feel good about myself, and that was a really good feeling. So that momentum just kind of kept me going, and all the energy that I used to put into looking for drugs and trying to find someone to do drugs with, and all that I put into working out and trying to eat better, and just sort of like reversing all the damage I had done over the
Hmm.
year.
That is true. How the gym becomes like a safe space and a place where you can get your quote high.
And myself.
But it'd be a lot better for you than,
Right.
like you said, than the drugs. And ironically, it's a good segue into how I quote met you and discovered you was
Right.
actually through a selfie on good old Facebook, Facebook group. For those that don't know the background, I was just online one day, and I tend to model scout for the photo business that I have, and I happened to see this silver foxy guy in a Facebook group, and I was like, he looks quite confident actually in himself and, put together and everything else. And so I was like, I'm just going to hit him up. Maybe, we can maybe do a photo shoot, down the road. And lo and behold, it turns out it sparked off another thing that was crazy. And then looking back, it's like even crazier. Considering, what did you think that first time I like some random dude well, I'm sure random dudes have hit you up before in your inbox, but somebody asked you to do photos of you after your recovery.
Well, it took me by surprise.
Hmm.
Um, so I had just really low self-esteem for so many years because of my addiction, and but I was starting to feel good about myself again. So it felt nice to have someone reach out to me, but in my mind, first of all, I was thinking romance books. I'm like,
I know, right?
I never even thought about that, and I thought about Fabio.
And that's
you
everybody
know,
says that is like the
yeah,
Fabio. What? Me?
yeah.
No way.
So, so I was like romance books, and then like I was thinking, at first I was just thinking, well, maybe this guy's just hitting on me. All the things that you think,
Exactly.
you just kind of think, well, it can't be legit because no one would want me to do that.
Right. It is
And
a weird request. I mean, it really is kind of, maybe that's why people don't reply to my emails. I don't know. I gotta look at
well,
that.
it just made me, kind of doubt that, okay, this, I'll check it out, but maybe it's not all that. And then so I looked at your site and I was like, oh shit, this guy's legit, you know. And then I got nervous.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
because I'm like, oh wow, this is legit. And this guy, I mean, I looked at all the other models and I'm like, wow, I could be these guys' dad. I'm not a bodybuilder. All these things go through my head of
Hmm.
why I should back out because that was my go-to
Hmm.
to back out of anything that was not in my comfort zone. Um,
Yes.
and but I was feeling a little bit better about myself, and I was like, I used to be the person to back out of everything,
Hmm.
and I don't want to be that person anymore. So this person in recovery needs to be different. So I'm like, I just feel honored that someone would ask me to do that, and I thought, well, even if I don't sell a single book cover, I I get the opportunity to shoot with an amazing photographer and get some great photos. So I'm gonna do it. So I think we had about I think we set the appointment for like 3 or 4 months after that. So I was like, well, that gives me
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
to really kind of work out more because I was just in my recovery. I had been at the gym, but I also had started, as most people in recovery do, started putting on some weight as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
And so I had just kind of realized that that was moving in a bad direction for me
Mm.
because my dad had a food addiction. So I'm like, I have to be really careful and not take on another addiction. So it kind of hit me at the perfect time where it gave me sort of that momentum to be like, okay, let's take it up a notch and really start working on my nutrition as well as working out. So
Yeah.
I think we set it up for like 3 or 4 months after the fact,
Hmm.
and went and did the shoot, and you know, I sort of used that ever since then. I've used that analogy in my head that anytime something feels scary or I feel like, oh, I feel myself backing out, I'm like, you have to do it now because if you had never shot that photo shoot, none of this would happen. None of this would be here for me.
That is true. I had a similar mindset when I started the business. It was that whole, oh God, I don't want to leave the cushy regular paycheck kind of job to start
Right.
this thing that's brand new. But then I also didn't want to be down the road, 20, 30 years going, man, I wonder if, and then, if I did it and it failed, I would know it failed. It
Right.
sucked.
Right.
But it's that whole question of not knowing, and I don't want to, like, I'm you now. It's like I don't want to be that guy that's like, what if, and just don't do anything,
Right.
and you just end up regretting it, and that leads to other issues, right? Depression and other things down the road potentially.
Feel like I look back and I realize I had so many opportunities that came my way that I just ghosted or didn't even follow through with, that most people would have loved to have had.
Mm-hmm.
And so just doing that shoot and seeing where it took me, made me realize, like, first of all, so many people would love to have opportunities. And the fact that I get them, I should at least try to see if it's for me and try to take it. I mean, I feel like when you hit rock bottom, you get that perspective. It sort of changes things where
Mm-hmm.
before I would worry about, you know, like you said, with when you step out with that job, you're kind of thinking about what you lose
Mm-hmm.
by doing that, like your other job or whatever. But like I didn't have anything to lose, so
That's a
all
great
I
point.
had was to gain, and then I used to worry about what people thought.
That resides in my head constantly.
A huge
Mm-hmm.
thing. And in my recovery, I started not worrying as much because one of the things is when I had that dirty little secret, I did worry about what people thought. What are they gonna think less of me? Or are they gonna think I'm a junkie? Or are they gonna think because I'm an addict, that makes me a bad person? All these things. And whenever I owned it and started sharing about my story, at first I just shared that I was in rehab. And the positive positivity and the support and the comments that I got was overwhelming.
Right.
And that made me realize that, sharing my truth was not going to be what I thought it was going to be. It
Mm-hmm.
was actually a great thing. And it it made me start sharing more and more and sharing stuff that was in my head, things I might have been ashamed of,
Mm-hmm.
and when I started doing that, it took the power away from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I owned it, I took accountability, and I made it my story so that I might help others, but it also helped me. No one could use that against me now because I already used it.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't say, "Oh, we found this on you." I'm like, yeah, I've shared that many times. You can't use that
Exactly.
against me. And so it turns something negative into a positive. And so that really helped me to stop worrying about what people thought so much whenever that crossed my mind about doing something new.
So would you say that when people look at your photo work, and I know this is all kind of a part of it as well, would you say a good strength, a good takeaway from those photos is to step out of your comfort zone and just embrace who you are?
Very much so. The the photo Doing the photo shoots with you came at the a perfect time for me. I was just sort of rebuilding or getting back some of the self-esteem I lost
Mm-hmm.
and trying to work on some of the self-esteem I never had to begin with. And so um, when I did the shoot with you, it was very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I would ever post on social media, I would take 50 to 100 selfies. maybe find one that I like that was the perfect angle and this or whatever. So,
Right.
you get very used to presenting yourself to the world the way you think they want to see you or how you want them to see you, and what you're comfortable with.
Right. Right.
And what I didn't realize is like I'm the only person not comfortable with those angles. Everyone that sees me in my everyday life sees every angle
Oh
and
yeah,
every
they
side
catch
of me.
you good, good, bad, and
Every
whatever. They can see you.
every side. So I'm the only person really not comfortable. So
Hmm.
when I did that shoot with you, it was great because you were taking the photos, you were taking every angle, you were deciding what photos went out. So, at first I cringed when I saw certain photos because it was not what I was used to presenting.
Right.
And and I cringed and loved them. And then I realized, wow, I'm the only person that has an issue here. you
Right.
know?
Uh, I
It,
I know
it,
exactly what you mean.
so it helped me a lot with just building up that confidence
Hmm.
and not being so uptight about how what I thought people thought of me, or how I needed to present myself on certain ways, or whatever. So that was really, really good for me. And the other thing that was great for me was that it gave me a focus. It gave me something that I was working towards, something
Hmm.
new in my life, a whole new path I didn't expect to have. And so, it just gave me something to really focus on and put
Right.
my energy into. And maybe that's one reason why I really excelled, because I put so much energy into it that maybe other people don't, but I needed something to put that energy into
Right.
because I used to have something else that took up all that energy. Um,
Exactly.
and then the other thing is that I had something really good in my life that I never expected to have. And anytime I would even think about using, I would think, I don't want to lose what I have. I don't want to lose this. And so
Yeah,
it
you're not rock bottom
gave me
anymore.
something
Yeah.
valuable that I could think of whenever I even was tempted to use.
That's a great way to put it. And, oftentimes too, I think the photos help in the regard of we often look at all those insurmountable things ahead of us. You hit rock bottom and you had all this stuff to climb out of. But a lot of us don't ever look back. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't look at where we're coming from. So it's a good measure of it's a fixed point in time you can always go back to, and say, oh gosh, look how far I've come from then. And we do that a lot too, with flashback
Right.
photos and all this stuff. But I always think it's important that we know where we're going forward, but knowing that we do a lot of stuff, um, and we've done a lot of stuff to get us to where we're at that's behind us. And so we should look there as well.
Yeah. One of the things too that was good for me is when I started doing the cover modeling, um, I got a whole new audience, and my following really started to grow
Hmm.
even more. And so I realized that, like I've been given a platform for a reason. And so it allowed me just to share my story even more. And I started to realize, like, you start to doubt that, oh, like no one wants to hear my story. There's other people who are in recovery that, what makes mine so special. But I did realize, I'm like, I went from homeless, sleeping in my car, to being on romance book covers and getting flown to different book signings across the country to sign book photos with readers. I mean, like, when it just made it so real, but also I'm like, I just feel so blessed because I didn't even expect to be alive at this point, because
Right.
all the people I was hanging with, most of them are gone.
Mm.
you know so to not only still be alive, but to have such an amazing life, I'm like, I have to share that because um, it does stand out. And because so many people don't share their story. I used to never see anyone make it out of addiction.
Mm,
I would see them go to rehab, go to jail, get out, and do the same thing. If they ever did make it out, you never heard from them again. So
right.
um, they didn't want people to know their past, you know.
Hmm.
So, part of my goal was to be the person that I needed to see when I was in addiction. And you know, that was my goal, but I guess I just didn't realize how many people I guess I could help. And I hear from people all the time that I've somehow helped them, and then I have to realize that every person I hear from, there's probably 50 others that I don't hear from.
No, right, right. And I think part of that too is that you're so open and honest with yourself and your and what you've gone through. Social media in general tends to foster this environment of we have to put on an act to be, all the highlights of our lives, and then we have to put on this fake face to face the world, which we can't do at an event. So I think that helps
Right,
it in there.
right.
But it's like I can see a lot of people that have fallen into their own form of addiction relative to social media, in that they kind of get to the craving of the attention and that whole fake face forward thing, which can mask all the other problems they're having. I guess I don't want to speak for you, but would you say that the open and honesty that you have with your audience is a big piece of keeping you out of that particular pothole?
Yeah, I feel like one of the things early on um, that I was thankful for was when not only did you discover me, but you sort of became like a mentor
Mm,
in a way. Because like I loved how how you present yourself
hmm.
online or to the public, and I would hear how people respected you in the business, and like I realized that you had developed a brand,
Right.
you know, and your brand is your reputation.
Hmm.
And um, so I used to ask you questions about things, and you would give me advice, and you would tell me about things that other models had done that they're no longer in the business anymore because of
Hmm.
behaviors and things like that.
Right.
And so early on, I realized um, I think one of the things that helped is that I was older, and
True.
also with everything I'd gone through, um, I really was taking it serious. This was an opportunity I never expected to come to me, especially at 50.
Right. It's
So
like surprise,
you
you're doing
know,
all this other stuff
so
now.
right. So a lot, like a lot of if I'd been a young kid and this had happened for me, I would have really screwed it up. But because I had this opportunity at 50 after not even expecting to have any kind of life after addiction, I just really took it serious and I wanted to do it right. That way I thought, well, if things go well for me, it's because I worked it. But I don't want to ever go, well, it could have been great, but I never really did what I should have done. I didn't put in the work or I didn't take it serious or
Right.
that kind of thing. So you know, lots of advice from you about developing my brand. And how I wanted to be seen in the industry. And
Right.
so one of the things was, one of the things I really wanted to do was I wanted to share my story.
Hmm.
And in order to really be honest about it, I had to share, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I realized that every time I did that, it seemed to really resonate with so many people. Like so many people, especially like if they had just started following me, or maybe they followed me, but they hadn't paid attention to
Hmm.
some of my story type of thing. They just saw, me modeling and pretty pictures and
Right.
book signing. So they just assumed that, you know,
That's it.
you in your head, in your head, if you have a big following, if you're modeling, then you're like a celebrity or in their head. Like you live the
Hmm.
celebrity lifestyle, you have this perfect charm life. And so then I would put out that, my story, and I would tell something about how, I was in jail, and uh, how it had completely wrecked my sex life, and I didn't have a sex drive anymore, and I had to be celibate because it was a trigger for me. Sharing that kind of stuff made people, I think, really resonate with me. They're like,
Hmm.
wow, I just thought you had this charmed life. Thank you for sharing that, because I just assumed this. And so they weren't expecting me to be that open and honest and vulnerable about things. But I feel like that really helped
I think so
with
too.
everything. Yeah.
Well, again, people are so conditioned to be, encountering the fake person on social media that just lives in this big ass house and has a big ass fancy car. And, that's the sum of every single post. So I could see where a lot of people would assume, well, this guy, look, he's on these big books, these romance books. He must be,
Right.
one rolling in the dough, and two, he ain't going to talk to somebody like me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they just assume that you're rich, and it's like
Yeah.
that. They sit all, and
I know, I
they
wish.
right. They assume that that you just have this rock star life or porn star life or whatever it is in their
Exactly.
head. But they see me on these photo shoots or photos, that look really hot, sexual type photos. So
Hmm.
they just assume that's your life. And I'm like, no, that's my job.
Exactly.
I'm not
Especially like,
I'm not actually messing around with any of these models. You
oh, I
know,
know, I know. We blanking TV on that, I guess. But it's like,
right.
especially with the couples stuff that you've done.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
I think most of the models have been straight that you've worked with
Yes,
and
they
doing the
have.
male stuff.
Yes,
So it's like, it's a job at the end of the day.
it is.
But we're
It
doing
is.
our
It's,
we're doing our work right if people tell assuming
right.
other things.
I tell people, like, I feel blessed to get to do that, and the photo shoots are fun. But I mean, when I see the photos themselves, I'm like, oh wow, that does look real. If I
Right.
hadn't have been there, I would have thought, oh, that's really a real couple or something going on too. But
Right.
like,
Right.
when you're in the middle of the shoot, sometimes you just met this model for the first time.
How
You
awkward
know,
is that?
it is, especially when you're sitting there going, okay, I know they have a wife or a girlfriend, and one of the first thoughts going, you're like, okay, guys, get up close like you're going to kiss. You're
I
like,
know. And
oh
then,
my goodness.
well, then the other stuff too, you think about that, nobody ever considers, oh God, am I sucking in far enough with my gut, all
Right.
this stuff. It's like, no, all that's going on now while we're trying to click a picture. We ain't got time for
All,
any
you're,
sexy
you're
thoughts.
you're trying to connect with the model because you really have just met them.
Exactly.
But then you're also concerned like what they're comfortable with. So
Exactly.
because you're getting them close and like you have your hands on them, so you're concerned about like, are they comfortable with this?
Hmm.
Uh, and I've learned to stop overthinking because I really overthought at first, and then I realized they wouldn't be there doing this if they had any issues with this, which
Right.
is
And
it.
that's where you want to make sure everybody knows what the shoot
Right.
entails before,
Right.
like show, because it's not like gonna be like surprise.
But like when the shit's going on, there's so many things going through your head that it's
Hmm.
sort of a blur
It
because
really is.
you're trying to connect with the model, then you forget, you're like, oh, I got to connect with the camera too.
Yeah,
Then
it's like,
you're
hello, I'm
you're
still
like,
here.
okay, you're a lot of your photos are from the side, so you have to remind yourself to hold your stomach in,
Yep.
and then
Sorry
and then
about
you're
that.
like, don't block their light. They can't block your light. Then
Exactly.
you're like, how's my breath? All these things are
Oh my
going through
God, it's
your
like, where's
head.
the guff and the mints? Because it's like,
Right.
I just had coffee.
Right. So
Yeah.
you've got all these things going through your head. So uh, before you know it, the shoot's over with, and then you see the photos. You're like, oh, I kind of remember that, but it's almost like you're peering in at a real life couple, and
Oh
so
yeah, especially like towards the end of the shoot when everybody's in a daze and we do the, like
yeah,
the more romantic-y stuff. And it's like,
right, right,
when
right.
did we shoot this? I don't remember this.
Right. And I'm always like, wow, that is hot. Like
Hmm.
I know that I was there, but you know,
You're like,
it,
what did this happen to me?
sometimes the angles that you get make it even more intimate than it actually was or actually felt, you know.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, and that is just like that for that illusion of,
right,
you make
right,
people
right,
look a
right.
little closer to get, and whatever. But yeah,
But
that's-
the first couple shot I did was a male, and then so um, it's funny because like I don't put a whole lot of I don't put a lot of my personal information out there
mhm,
other than about my story and stuff. But
right.
I because I was celibate, I wasn't dating, so I never really put like, oh, this is who I'm dating or anything. So people didn't know a whole lot about my personal life, which
Right.
I kind of like because doing romance books, you want everybody to sort of have that imagination that you could be with them. You know, so
Exactly.
it
It's
really,
it's a
really
so
worked.
it's a fantasy. It's that's
Yeah.
why if you feel those fantasies, especially for those authors,
Right.
it's
So I did the shoot with the male, and it's funny because everybody was like, "Oh, you're gay." Then I think the next shoot I did was with a female, and they go, "Oh, you're straight." And then I
it's
just,
like, well,
it got to be fun where I just thought, well, I'm going to do every other one, female, and male, just to mess with them. And then I did a shoot with a male and a female.
and everybody
Yeah,
was confused. Like, what is
right.
going on here?
Then they're just like, "Oh, he's just a hoe."
Yeah, they're like, oh, we were right about that. It's like, yep, ding ding. That's when your inbox blows up. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, this is a good segue into the darker side of social media. We had talked before. You have a lot of people impersonating you
Yeah,
out there, and it's like, especially with the two dreaded letters that I hate that I'll talk more about on the show, AI out there, it's become a challenge. I mean, not that you're responsible for every instance of this happening. I mean, you're you and all these, but it's gotten so easy for people to just get duped.
yeah. I and a lot of the people, some people that follow me still somehow believe that I have another account and that I'm talking to them and we're in a relationship type of thing. But the majority of people don't know who I am.
Right.
Uh, so they just have been approached by someone using my photos. They've been given a story that I work on an oil rig
Oh my God.
or, something that's a big one. Um, and then um, they're over the few months they are in love and then, about 6, 7 months into it, they all of a sudden have some kind of emergency that they need some money, and that's usually how it goes. Um, and so many of the people that were, I think once they start to realize that they've been had, they start researching and looking and find the real me. And
Right.
I'm like, Fred, I would have done that early on. When you start to see somebody like before I start to have feelings for this person that I don't know, that I've never met,
Yeah. I just
maybe
have
I
a
should
picture.
start trying to figure out if this is a real person. They just don't do that, and I feel like it's because they want to believe it so bad.
I think
Um,
so. I think so. And it's a sad thing to think about.
these scammers are smart, and I've seen what they do. Like sometimes they will get on my page, and the thing is like I feel like a lot of people who have a lot of followers don't pay attention to their comment sections.
Oh, they do
So
not. No,
so
they don't.
so they'll get on there and pretend that they're that person, and and people really believe it's them because it's their page and it looks like this. They put the same photo
Same
up and
photo.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if they get on there and comment as me on my page, I'm going to see it, and then I block them and I send the link to Scam Haters United, and they have to get rid of it.
Oh, that's
But
great.
yeah, but it's like the thing is most of the time people are being hit up and they don't follow me. They don't know who I am, and these people are lonely. Um,
Very.
they're lonely. They go after some people who have some mental health issues, maybe even some people who are disabled and stuck at home. So I feel horrible that those are the type of people who are being targeted.
It's
Um,
sad, isn't it? And it's
it is.
like and they get them good because sometimes the amounts that you hear these people are forking over is like crazy high.
Yeah.
you know, five, sometimes six figures. And it's like, how are you? You
Yeah.
should have researched this before, but I know how you can get caught in the moment, uh, I guess, by these scammers and they just sweet talk
Yeah.
and say the right thing.
I've had some people. I was interviewed by a newscaster in UK, and also they did a story I was involved in. It was a documentary about scammers on Paramount Plus, and one of the ladies that was being scammed by me actually was part of this as well. And she's in England, and
Mm.
she gave like £30,000 to the
Wow.
scammer.
That's
But
insane.
I've heard of a lot more spending even more. And I've had other people who said like their moms had given a scammer like
That's great.
most of her money she had saved away
Oh, it
for
angers you,
retirement.
doesn't it? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it makes me really mad. It makes me mad to feel like I'm the face of the scammer.
And
You
people
know,
have to be mad at you for, I
they
mean,
do.
right or wrong, they're just mad at you because you're the
They
face, like
are.
you said.
They
Oh,
are,
God.
and like they usually, even though they find out they're being scammed, then they assume that the real me scammed them.
Right.
Um, and so that's frustrating because, I will then be like, you know what? I post about scammers all the time. I have
You
a
do.
I have a I have a verified account. So this is the real account.
Yep.
'Cause then they'll go talk to the scammer and they'll say, "Oh no, he's the fake." And then they want to believe them because they want to believe it's true that they have this scam.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
like I'm like, I have a lot of followers and I have a check mark. So I'm the real person.
Yeah.
Uh, if you want to believe them, you can believe them, but please don't. Please block them.
It's the easiest thing
I'm
that
like,
one
I'm
would
like,
think.
like, they're asking for stuff from you. I'm not. I'm just asking you not to
Talk to them.
like,
Don't.
talk to them anymore. Or,
Oh,
and
wow.
if I was scamming you, I wouldn't tell you that. So it's
Exactly.
it's frustrating. Uh, and I used to try to get on there and talk, tell these people, okay, I'm not the scammer, blah, blah, blah. And like they would just argue with me and it's like they wouldn't want to hear it. So like I had someone yesterday um on one of my posts. I had posted that my uncle had died and I was home for the funeral and some lady posted, yeah, you're just using this to scam someone or something. So I just blocked her. I'm like, I just don't have the
Yeah,
time
you don't
anymore.
have the time to deal with people like that.
Not on this, not on this post. This was a post about my family. I don't want to hear that, and it gets
Exactly.
frustrating.
Well, exactly. And people who do follow you, I mean, on your verified accounts, like you said, would know that you're not asking for moolah like any on there. So it's just crazy to me that people get the way, and it's just super easy now for people to scam. It's like the other day when we had the issue pop up through my website, somebody's emailed that one photo where they edited one of your other photos. It was like super easy.
Yeah.
But thankfully, people are doing that. Not the scamming, but the contacting me because the few days before I had one for another model that they had sent, and there's like, I really like this guy, but something about these pictures doesn't look right. And the instant I saw him, I'm like, honey, these are not the guy at all. I haven't seen the guy in years, but I know for a fact these are not because they're
Right.
all AI. And
Yeah.
it's just crazy. But she was gonna go meet this person, and like I said, oh no 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 don't
Yeah.
even no
That couldn't go well because it's not
no
them.
it's not this. So
Uh,
what are you gonna do at that point? Like
right.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And I remember one time someone who reached out to you and they had said that me and Ryan had hit her up and that we needed $20,000 for a modeling certification or something.
And I was like, wait a minute, those exist now. Maybe I should offer some of those. I don't know. I'd be raking in the dough. Yeah, I should have said, hey Kev, before this first shoot, by the way,
Right,
here's the
right,
here's the PayPal link. Can you send me the
right, right.
20K for this photo? It's crazy though. I mean, really, they're creative. I will give them
They
that.
are.
They're very
They are.
creative. I tell you, it's a doozy. Oh my goodness. Well, speaking of that, we're getting close to the end of the interview, and
Yeah.
so if you want, I wanted to talk about what you view as your legacy. What's the plans for the future? What do you got in the old cauldron bubbling away that you're gonna unleash upon the world in the coming weeks to months to years?
Well, one of the things we've talked about a lot is how AI has really affected this industry. And,
God, no.
it's really made, I'm happy I'm still selling book covers, but things have slowed down for all of us.
Definitely.
And it's just going to get worse. So, I decided I needed to step out of my comfort zone some more,
There you
and
go.
I started trying, move to Atlanta, back to Atlanta, and trying to do some fashion stuff, and
That's
um,
great.
went to a casting call, got chosen for Fashion Week, and went to another casting call the other day for a top agency here, and that went really well. So
Okay, fingers crossed.
yeah,
Everything.
that's something I do, something I want to do. I've taken some acting classes over the years, and
Mm-hmm.
so I would love to try to see about some small parts here and there, just to get comfortable in that industry.
Yeah, because
Once
again,
I
it's
get
another.
comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, I know that I do really well with something once I do sort of get that comfort zone.
Right.
And so I just want to kind of like get in that comfort zone, because video was one of the things I wasn't comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I'm nervous, it's hard for me to retain the lines, remember the lines. And so
Oh,
once I
exactly.
get more comfortable, I feel like that's going to sort of fall into place for me. But those are some things I want to do. I want to
That's great.
continue to share my story, maybe work in that field somehow to get more involved.
Mm-hmm.
But I have these things I want to do, but I'm not set in stone with it, because I've noticed, like, the way that you came to me to do photo shoots the first time. Now that I've got more of a following and people have started to follow me, I did notice that opportunities do sort of come my way. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to stay open to those, even though I have my goals. I'm not going to be so focused on those goals that I don't see the other opportunities that come my way.
Oh,
Um,
exactly. Exactly.
because you get so focused that you don't even keep, other things come your way that you kind of didn't even notice, like,
Mm-hmm.
so if something opens up for me to try, um, I'm going to, but those are just sort of like some of my goals I want to focus on right now.
Yeah,
So
that's great. I totally get where you're coming from too, because this whole venture, this whole podcasting adventure is out of my comfort zone entirely. I'm having to
yeah,
learn a whole new skill sets.
but
Um,
I feel like it's perfect for you. It
I
fits
think
you well.
so. I think so. Because stemming from the signings and being in front of people, I used to when I worked at in the defense industry and did a lot of training, like safety training and stuff. I used to be in front of
Right,
big groups of people. So talking is something I can do. It's just what do I talk about?
right.
And so this will help me focus, ironically the name, into something that I think I could talk about regularly and see how it goes. But you're my
Mhm.
first guy, so it's like
I love that. I
so
love
we'll see how
that.
it goes.
See,
Absolutely.
I got to be you're my first photographer to work with, and then I get to be your first guest.
There you go.
So
It's like I know I told you the back end of this with the editing and stuff should be a fun venture because I know what I'm doing in like manual stuff, but there's a lot of automated stuff in this next one to make it like easier to post on social media. So we'll see
this
how
is
that
good
goes.
because you do so many things in the industry. You're a model, photographer, designer, author. So I feel like you're well rounded to have a lot of things to talk about. You
I
can
think so
have
too.
models on here. You can have authors on here. You could have other photographers, designers. And then now that you're also very passionate about AI, there's a lot of things that you can incorporate into.
Exactly. I do have a debate plan. I just got to find somebody to take me on my offer of being the pro AI guy person to go spar with. It's I haven't heard back yet, but I'll make another post online. So we'll
Right.
see how it
That'll be
goes.
interesting.
I know that'll be a fun thing. You maybe get to see another side of me nobody's seen before. Is that
Right.
the actual furious side of the furious photographer?
Right.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
And we're like, we get the title now. We understand it.
Now we know why he calls himself that.
Right.
Well, Kevin, do you want to plug any of your socials? I can put them up on the screen at the end or in editing or whatever. Just your official ones, obviously. Um,
Yeah. I My IG is Kevin R. Davis official. And then as far as my Facebook, I think it's just R. Kevin Davis is how it comes
I
up.
think so too. I'll double check in the editing guy, namely this guy right here. He'll pop it on the screen at the
But
end
just
there.
make sure there's the verified check mark, and you'll know you have the right one.
100% people check out for the blue check marks, and that'll make sure that that you're talking to the real person or following the real person there. Uh, so, well, that's it, Kevin. I appreciate your time and
Yeah. Thank you for
your
having me.
story. Oh, definitely
Yeah.
so. Definitely so. And then for everybody out there, this is, of course, the Furious Focus podcast where we talk about creativity, culture, the chaos in between. So, I mean, stay furious, of course, but everybody, please, please stay focused while you're out there. Well, Kevin, again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You-